Can you just...
We're so blessed to have Roger and Joyce Brown from Kelso, Washington.
Oh, you're recording? Oh, okay.
We'll start with prayer then.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay, let's pray together. Our gracious Father in heaven, we thank you for giving us your Son and that to show us your character and your love. We know in these last days there's not much faith and there's not much love, but Lord, we have the sure word of prophecy, and as Christ came the first time, we believe he's coming again. Help us to have that fire in our heart, that the things we do and say may give glory to you. And we just thank you that Elder Roger can come and share the things that he's been studying, especially he's gone through the great controversy over 19 times, and he's gone through, he studied the scriptures and history. We just pray, Lord, as he shares what's on his heart, that you may bless us and your Holy Spirit will move us, and that we may have a closer walk with thee. Thank you so much. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Okay, this is time is running out. I do mostly one of three. The next one is Daniel 7, and then 8, 11, and 12, and then 13 when I get to it. So anyway, let's get started here. We're from the beginning. Okay, this is the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him to show unto his servants the things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angels unto his servant John. Okay, let's go here. Okay, Revelation chapter 17. Well, this is revealing the hierarchy of the Roman Catholic Church, past, present, and future. So, and I use only the King James Bible, and this is the direction the Bible gives us on how we are to study the Bible. So Isaiah 28:10, for precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little. And so a precept, out of the 1828 Noah Webster Dictionary, the Ten Commandments are so many precepts for the regulation of our moral conduct. So I title Revelation 17 the Great Whore for the simple reason that's what the Lord calls her. And for the best interpretation, I use King James, of course. So a woman in Bible prophecy represents a church, and the woman in this chapter is the whore. And we will soon see who she is and what the waters represent. Okay, so going a little further. So in Isaiah, I have likened 6:2. I have likened the daughters of Zion to a comely and delicate woman. And in Zechariah 9:9, greatly rejoice, O daughters of Zion. Shout, O daughters of Jerusalem. Behold, thy king cometh unto thee. He is just and having salvation, lowly and riding upon an ass, and upon a colt of the ass. And then again here in Matthew 21:5. Tell ye the daughters of Zion, behold, your king cometh. Okay, so we'll move on here. So on this, I'm just out of order, but anyway, in Revelation 17:1, we see the great whore that sits upon many waters, and so here we see the great whore. Now when it says line upon line, here a little there. When you go a little bit there, and when you find the right verse that goes with the one that you're looking for, it should form a chiasm. And this is what the chiasm is. It says, the great whore up here that sitteth upon many waters, and then dropping down, you see the waters where the whore sitteth, and then it tells you what the waters are. It says, our people and multitude and nations and tongues. And okay, so this, I put the interpretation in the middle because it applies to both. So this woman, church, in 17:4 is described by the clothes she is wearing, opposed to the woman in Revelation 12. And 12:17 is God's true church who keeps the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. And testimony, okay, so now the woman here, I deleted a lot of slides out of this, so I'm just kind of amazed at what I've done. Oh, say in Revelation 17:4 it says the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and here's the proof. So these men are wearing purple and scarlet and are dressed like a woman.
Very much so.
These are the prelates of Rome. And here again, these now they're dressed in red and white, red and scarlet. So this is at the funeral of Pope John Paul, and I don't know who that guy is. Probably Benedict. So it says a woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet. So here's Benedict in his purple and his scarlet. And then moving on a little bit, in John 19, verse 5, it says, "And they put a purple robe on Jesus, and Pilate saith unto them, Behold the man. These men, the popes of Rome, are the impostors. They claim to be God on earth and are wearing the robes of royalty." So here we see, oh, I better get it over here where you can see it, what I'm looking at. So there's the guy who just died. Francis. Here he's wearing his purple, and then again Benedict wearing his purple and scarlet. And moving on a little bit. Now again, here we see Francis in his purple and scarlet, wearing his. Now he's wearing his Dagon, the fish god mitre, and we'll see that just a little bit. So worshiping Dagon, the fish god, goes back a long ways. And notice the fish. Notice the fish right here. It's on the. See that little fish there?
Is it ecumenic movement?
And you see these fishes on the back of people's car. Well, that's worshiping Dagon. A lot of people probably don't know that, but that's your.
I thought it was like a Christian symbol.
Yeah, it's not.
No.
It's Dagon. I'll show you a little more of that when we
Okay.
get there. So here are the two priests of Dagon, ancient and modern, each having his fish mouth mitre with a stick on one hand and incense in the other. So out of Patriarchs and Prophets, page 586, the upper part of this idol was like that of a man, and the lower part was in the likeness of a fish. Oh, I gotta keep getting that.
Like a merman.
Yeah. So here's, you can see the fish mouth there. Notice his mouth is open, and we got the same thing here. So in 1 Samuel 5:1 it says, "And the Philistines took the ark of God and brought it from Ebenezer unto Ashdod. And when the Philistines took the ark of God, they brought it into the house of Dagon and set it by Dagon." So in the 5th chapter of 1 Samuel, there was a war between Israel and the Philistines. And in verse 4, 1 Samuel 5:4, "And when they arose early on the morrow morning, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the ground before the ark of the Lord, and the head of Dagon and both his palms of his hands were cut off upon the threshold. Only the stump of Dagon was left to him." And that's what's going to happen to these guys too. So nowhere in the Vatican. I'll read verse 7 here. "And when the men of Ashdod saw it, they said, The ark of the God of Israel shall not abide with this, and for his hand is sore upon us." So nowhere in the Vatican, their churches or literature, do you see the ark of God, because the Bible says the ark of God of Israel shall not abide with them. The whole story is found in 1 chapter 3 through 6.
That's it. What? Where? Where to come?
1 Samuel 3 through 6. Right there. Okay, so here's Francis with his stick, with Jesus all macerated and right where he wants him, still nailed to the cross. Now the bent cross is a satanic cross, and we'll see more of that in my Daniel 11 presentation. And so here in Revelation 4:6 is a scene in heaven, and you can see from this that Rome is even counterfeiting the throne of God. So Revelation 4:6 it says, "And before the throne there was a sea of glass like unto crystal in the midst of the throne, and round about the throne were four beasts." So we see these guys right here. These are the four beasts.
The man?
Yeah, there's you can't see that very good. And four eyes, before and behind. Okay, so these four men represents the four beasts of Revelation. See, they're counterfeiting that. So in Exodus 25:18, God has given these directions to Moses. And right down here, and thou shalt make 2 cherubims of gold. You see them right there? There's one, there's the other one. Now this is making the above the mercy seat. You make 2 cherubims of beaten work shalt thou make them at the 2 ends of the mercy seat. Well, that's not Jesus sitting on the mercy seat. That's the Pope of Rome. And Francis sitting on the supposed seat, not Jesus. Okay, but the truth is, the Pope of Rome, it says in 2 Thessalonians 2:4, who oppose and exalt himself above all that is called God or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. But the truth is, the Pope of Rome is he who opposes and the temple, all that is called God, and the temple of God is in your mind. Do we worship the Pope of Rome or Jesus the King of Kings? Romans 6:16 says, ye are the servant to whom you obey. And here in Isaiah 37:16 it says, O Lord of hosts, God of Israel, that dwelleth between the cherubims, thou art the God, even thou alone. All of the kingdoms of the earth thou hast made heavens and earth. And here the Pope of Rome is sitting, taking God's place, deceiving millions. So in Psalms 99:1, the Lord reigneth, let the people tremble. He sitteth between the cherubims, let the earth be moved. So it's in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall every word be established, and there's our 2 witnesses there. So, round about in Revelation 14:4 it says, round about the throne there were 24 seats, and upon the seats saw 24 elders sitting, clothed in white raiment, and they had on their head gold crowns of gold. Well, the Pope of Rome, there are many about the throne wearing their red dress and red caps. So in Rome there is no Ark of God, no mercy seat, and no Christ. So then the woman that was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and the verse goes on, and having a golden cup in her hand, full of the abominations and the filthiness of her fornication. So here's Benedict. Of course, he got his purple and scarlet, and now there's his golden cup. It's amazing that God has described these people over almost 2,000 years, and they're acting out their part as perfect as they can get it. So Babylon has been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made the earth drunken. The nations have drunk of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Isn't that what we see now? So here's Carl Egan with his golden cup, and Benedict with a different one. The Bible is describing the hierarchy of this church after 2,000 years with the utmost accuracy. These men know who they are doing and what they are doing. They worship the devil, and millions are caught up in this system simply because they don't read and understand their Bible. So Francis has his golden cup and wearing his purple and scarlet robe. So there's his scarlet and purple and his golden cup. Benedict has one, and Francis has his. I have a collage of pictures there. So this is Pope Francis sitting in front of a sculpture of demons. This is in the audience hall at the Vatican. And let's take a look at this here a little.
I heard that they had something like this at the Olympics as well. They did it
Yeah,
very much
yeah.
like similar to
So here you can see what's taking place right here. You can see the man's head and the snake's head along with it. Okay, we're gonna move out a little bit. Now you can see Francis is sitting there, and we got the Swiss guard, and the prelates are sitting right here. Okay, we're gonna move out a little further. So here, now there's the collage right there. There's the prelates, and there's the cameras up there, and all the people taking pictures and praising the Pope. So okay, now we're gonna move out a little further. What do you see? What does that window look like?
the eye of evil.
And look at the right here. You got these 2 pillars, Okay, we're going to move out just a little bit further and look at the other side. Now is it starting to take shape of what you're seeing? And look at all the world wondered after the beast. We can sure see that here. Now I'm going to go back a little bit further. Now what do you see?
Oh, I see. Oh my word.
See, there's the collage right there with the demon's
Can you
head,
see it yet?
snake's head.
This
Mhm.
is snake's
And there's
head.
Yeah.
and if you look at a snake's eye,
And the
this is
teeth and everything.
what you see. Okay, this is from the back of the room. Now,
Where's this located?
what's that?
Where is this located?
That's in the audience hall at the Vatican. I'll show you in just a minute. When you go outside, this is what it looks like from the outside. Notice the similarities. See, there's the eye, and the narrowing of the head. The back part of the head is wide. They know who they are. They're worshiping the dragon.
Mhm.
That's from another angle, and still another angle. So there's a audience hall, and the Sistine Chapel's over there. Now I've walked all around this up here when I was at the Vatican several years ago. Okay, so another view. So having a golden cup in her hand full of the abomination, filthiness, or fornication. Oops, let's get this out there. So a scarlet woman. Now this come out of the New Webster's New World Edition dictionary, college edition. It's only found in the college edition, and 1968 and earlier, on page 1302. It says the Scarlet Woman, the Roman Catholic Church, an opprobrious term based on the reference of Revelation 17, 1 through 6. Okay, so now we're going to drop down a little bit. Opprobrious, expressing opprobrium, abusive, disrespectful, deserving opprobrium, disgraceful, infamous. Webster's New World Dictionary, College Edition. This is 1029. Okay, so this is what the leading college dictionary says about the papal hierarchy over 60 years ago. This was the first printing in the early 60s, and it ran for about 10 years before they got caught. So after 1968, Scarlet Woman and the Roman Catholic Church was reduced to just scarlet. So it's scarlet right there. Now it's also describing Revelation 17, 1 through 6. The scarlet colored, grossly glaring, offensive, sinning in flagrance and fashion, characterized by association with sexual immorality. Now isn't that what we've heard 25, 30 years ago? And it's right in the dictionary. So in verse 3, it says, so he carried me away in the wilderness for 1260 years. I saw the woman. So now I'm going to have to click, and what I'm going to do is the Roman Catholic Church. And then now we're going to drop down to verse 4 here. It says, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of the abominations of her filthiness of her fornication. Okay, so now I'm going to move this up. And now we need another verse or verses to compare with verse 4, and we'll get that out of Daniel 11:35. Interpret as we read it. Okay? So this here is a woman, and then you drop down to this woman here. So was decked. Oh, what did I do? I left out one. Okay, with decked with gold. Here, this king in Daniel 11:36 is honored with gold and precious stones. It says right here, the woman was dressed in precious stones and pearls, pleasant things and pearls. So the woman is the church, and the king is the pope. Now, I've taken out a lot of slides here to explain this a little bit better. But now this is describing what the pope is, and reading the blue, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished, for that is determined shall be done. So reading this blue down here, it says, neither shall he regard the God of his fathers, nor the desire of women, nor regard any God, for he shall magnify himself above all. So the woman is the church and the king is the pope. So does the Catholic Church regard the Pope as a god, yes or no? Well, yes.
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so when I was in Scotland, when Pope Benedict was there, I took this picture and I had this guy hold it up. You can see his bald head and his hands out there. And it says, Benedict the 16th, Our God Reigns, Scotland 2010. So they're thinking that the Pope is the God. And it says in Jeremiah 10:11, the gods that have not made the heavens and the earth, even they shall perish from the earth and from under these heavens. And then again in Acts 20:12-21, and upon a set day Herod, arrayed in royal apparel, sat upon his throne and made an oration unto them, and the people gave a shout, saying, it is the voice of a God and not of a man. And immediately the angel of the Lord smote him, because he gave not God the glory, and he was eaten of worms and gave up the ghost, right in front of him.
So
I like that sense of humor.
the question is why God hasn't eaten each pope with worms.
Yeah, we're recording this. We'll kind of wait.
Yes, sorry.
Okay, so I saw the woman, the Roman Catholic Church, with the king as a, Pope as a king, or King Pope. Okay, full of names of blasphemy. Now we're going to take and break this one down. Now we're going to move this one down, and now we got to find another. We got to find another verse that will interpret this 17:3. And so here it is. When you look at Revelation 13:1, 13:1 and 2, and they come down here to 17:3. So God puts these in numbers. It's just unbelievable what I've seen throughout the Bible. So the leopard beast in Revelation 13:2, and the woman in Revelation 17:3 are the same. And here's the proof through our this is a chiasm, if I haven't mentioned it before. So we'll start out here, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his head the names of blasphemy. We see it, bring it right down here. So, and a leopard, the beast, which I saw was like a leopard. And now the wilderness, we didn't cover that, so I'm just going to say the wilderness is the 1200 years right here. And then now it starts to repeat itself. So the leopard beast is a woman. So we see the woman, and then full of the names of blasphemy, just in the same order it comes, having 7 heads and 10 horns. So this chiasm shows a leopard-like beast in Revelation 13:2, and the woman are the same beasts. So the scarlet woman in Revelation 17:1-6 is also the leopard beast in Revelation 13:1-3. She is now a woman, a beast, and a king. So we're going to see this slide again in a few minutes. Okay. So I saw the woman, the Roman Catholic Church with the King Pope, the leopard beast. Now we're going to drop down to 4 again. Now we just went through 4 with Daniel chapter 11. Now we're going to take another look at it. Now I'm going to move this up, and now we're going to add, just like we've seen in Daniel 11, now we're going to see it in a different setting. So the woman was arrayed. That great city was clothed. So being arrayed and clothed is the same difference. Okay, in purple and scarlet, in purple and scarlet. So, like you remember in Luke chapter 16, verse 20, there was a certain certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gate full of sores. Well, in verse 19 it says, and there was a certain rich man which was clothed in purple and fine linen and fared sumptuously every day. Okay, now here we're going to look at it again. So the woman was arrayed, that great city was clothed, and a certain rich man was clothed. We're going to see who that rich man is. Okay, in purple, in fine linen and purple and fine linen. So that was our chiasm. So it's fine linen, purple, and purple again. We see purple, where is it? Purple. Oh, well, anyway. And fine linen, there it is. And a certain rich man. So who's this rich man in purple and fine linen? Notice the rich man in Luke 16:19 was right in the same color. So there's a purple, scarlet, and fine linen. These are the popes of Rome. Okay, now here's our chiasm. Okay, the woman is the church, the great city is Vatican City, and a certain rich man is the pope, a king. So I saw the woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast. Now, who is this scarlet-colored beast? Let's take a look here. Okay, now we're going to take all these verses, blanks out, and move it up. Okay, so that's the same verse without those blanks in it. In teaching this, there's a lot of variation, who is the scarlet-colored beast, but here's what the Bible says, and the SOP, and the Spirit of Prophecy, has to say. Notice this woman is sitting upon a scarlet-colored beast. So here's our companion verse. So we have, and the dragon, this in here, along with Revelation 13:2. So the woman is the dragon. The woman is the papal church. The dragon is papal Rome. So, and I saw the woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, a great red dragon, and then down through it just simply says the dragon. So the papal Rome is sitting upon the doctrine of pagan Rome. So here's our chiasm. Sit upon a scarlet-colored beast. That was a papacy from 538 to 1798. And a great red dragon is pagan Rome, ruling the world from 168 AD to 470 or BC to AD 476. So having 7 heads, and here again have 17:3 is having 7 heads, Revelation 12:3 is having 7 heads, and 10 horns. There's the 10 horns. Very, very much similar. Full of the names of blasphemy, and upon his heads the names of blasphemy. Right there. Upon his heads and full of names of blasphemy shows that the Rome is ruling the world, and 7 crowns upon his head show pagan Rome is ruling the world at different times. So 7 crowns upon his head shows a political power, and upon his heads the names of blasphemy shows a religious power. So in 17:3 the woman is the papal church, and 12:3 the dragon is Satan representing pagan Rome. The 7 heads are the 7 hills of Rome, you see in 17:9, 12:3. 7 crowns upon his 7 heads, pagan Rome is ruling the world from BC 168 to 476. So the 7 heads are the 7 hills of Rome. We'll get to that in a minute. So the 7 crowns upon 7 heads, papal Rome ruling the world from BC 168 to AD 476. Names of blasphemy, papal Rome ruling the world from AD 538 to 1798. So the Roman Catholic Church is an extension of paganism under the guise of Christianity. Christians obey Christ in all he has to say and do. Come on. Okay. Having 7 heads and 10 horns. Okay, now I'm going to move this up. And here we go. So what are the 7 heads? Okay, now there's a lot of variations on this, but I like to stick with what the Bible says. It says in 17:9, here is the mind that has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. So John is telling us the 7 heads are 7 mountains. He is giving us the location of this woman where she sits in Rome, Italy, the city of 7 hills. So the great controversy is confirming that these 7 heads is the former seat of pagan Rome and is now the seat of papal Rome. So it says, in the 6th century, the papacy had become firmly established. Its seat of power was fixed in the imperial city, and the bishops of Rome were declared to be head over the entire church. Paganism had given place to the papacy. The dragon had given to the beast his power, his seat, and great authority. Revelation 13:2. Okay, so, and now it is the seat of papal Rome. What is blasphemy? Okay, go to John 10:33. The Jews answered Christ, saying, for a good work we stone thee not, but for blasphemy, because that thou being a man, makest thyself God. So this is how God describes the Church of Rome, as blasphemous. So now we're going to go to verse 9, which we just looked at. Verse 9. Here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the people sit. And I don't know how people can get so many more different interpretations than this. It says it's that clear. Okay. So from the Strong's Concordance, mountain is using the number 3735, Revelation 17:9. Okay, so here's 3735 out of the forgot where I got it. I think it's out of the Strong's Concordance. It says a mountain, or a lifting itself above the plain, like a hill. That's what it's saying. Okay, and this comes out of Great Controversy 142. At last, Martin Luther, beholding the distant 7-hill city, with deep emotion, he prostrated himself upon the earth, exclaiming, Holy Rome, I salute thee. So Sister White agreeing with Martin Luther, so she put it in the Great Controversy that the 7 hills are the city of Rome. Doug Batchelor agrees with it too. So the woman has a seat, and Satan has a seat. So in Revelation 12:13, I know thy works where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is, and thou holdest fast my name, and hast not denied my faith. And even in those days when Antipas was my faithful martyr, who was slain among where Satan dwelleth. Satan's seat and where he dwelleth is the same. So where is Satan's seat? So in the 6th century, the papacy had become firmly established, its seat of power fixed in the imperial city, and the bishops of Rome was declared to be the head of the entire church. Okay, so where is it? Let's go one more. So it's in pagan Rome. It's in Rome. So who is Antipas? Because it says right here, wherein Antipas was my favorite martyr, who was slain among you, where Satan dwelleth. Okay, so martyrs buried in Rome, in these underground retreats, the catacombs in Rome, the followers of Christ bury their dead. And here also they suspected and prescribed they found a home. When the life giver shall awaken those who have fought the good fight, many a martyr for Christ's sake will come forth from those gloomy caverns. So who is Antipas? Just add a couple of words to Antipas and you get an anti-papist. And Antipas is an anti-papist. Okay, so Rome, Italy is the city of 7 hills, the seat of Satan, the seat of paganism, the seat of the woman, and the seat of the Roman Catholic Church. Now we're going to go back to 17:5. And, okay, verse 17:5. And upon her forehead, I'm going to go this. Now here's another way of making a chiasm. And here's Christ, and here's Antichrist. Now notice the difference. How 19, 16, and 17 compare with Revelation 17:5 and 6. Okay, we says, and he has on his vesture and on his side a name written, and upon her forehead was a name written, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots. I saw an angel, and I saw the woman. So I saw the angel standing in the sun, and I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints. So I'll go back here. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. and come and gather yourselves together at the supper of the great God. So John is giving us the same words to describe both Christ and Antichrist, used like he did with the whore and the lamb's wife, which I didn't show, which I already taken out in verse 1 and 2. Now we're going to go back to verse 17:1. Now that we know who the great whore is, we can see what her judgment is. So now over here in Revelation 16 is a chapter containing the 7 last plagues. Okay, so you'll see right here the 7 angels up here in 17:1 and the 7 angels here in 16:1. And they have the 7 vials, and here it just says the vials. Okay, in 17:10, and the 5th angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast, and his kingdom was full of darkness, and they gnawed their tongue for pain. Also in Exodus 10:22. And here is the mind which has wisdom. 7 heads are the 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth, and we see it's the seat of the papal power. So she's the woman, the judgment of the woman the whore that sitteth. Here it says the 5th angel poured out his vial on the seat of the beast. And again we see the woman, where the woman sitteth, and her power was in the imperial city. So this is the chiasm, the judgment of the great whore, and the 5th angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast. So we have the whore and the sitteth, where the whore sitteth right here. And then dropping down we have the seat of the beast, and then the judgments upon the Vatican. And what is the judgments? Full of darkness. Remember that during the Dark Ages they took the Bible away from the people? Okay, now 17:1 again. Now we can explain this a little bit better. Now going to another verse, 17:2, and now verse 18. Now you'll notice here in 17:2, the kings of the earth have committed fornication. 18:9, the kings of the earth who have committed fornication. And so the only difference between the two sentences is the blue and the who. So who is not included in verse 2, and this is not only a chiasm, it's also called text proof. Now we're going to do verse 10. Okay, now here's our chiasm. So we're going to start up here on top. We have the judgments of the great whore that sitteth, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication. Now dropping down, we see it in reverse order. The kings of the earth who have committed fornication. And we see the great whore that sitteth. Now she's that great city, Babylon. And now the judgments, we're going to see the judgments. Now here's another one I couldn't fit in there, so I put it up here. So this is Vatican City. So, and the inhabitants of the earth who have made drunk with the wine of her fornication, dropping down, and live deliciously with her, shall bewail and lament her, for when she shall see the smoke of her burning. So chapters 18 and 19 offer a lot of input to chapter 17. And the more you read them, the more you see them. That's what happened to me. Now verse 7. So if John's going to tell us about it says right here, and the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman, and of the beast that carries her, which has the 7 heads and 10 horns. So if John's going to tell us about the woman, then we need to apply what he's going to say about the woman to the woman, and not a bunch of other things. So John says, I will tell thee the mystery of the woman. In the first 6 verses, he told us about the woman church that ruled from 538 AD to 1798. Now he's going to tell us about the woman that is going to be reestablished after 1929. Okay, so verse 8. This is the way verse 8 reads with his historical dates. Right there. Oh, I meant to drop that out. But anyway, we'll get to that later. He said, I will tell thee of the woman. Then he starts out by saying the beast in verse 8, 7 verse 8. So the beast, he switches from the name of the woman to the beast while still referring to the woman. So the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition. So what is perdition? perdition, entire loss of ruin, the utter loss of the soul, eternal death. Impenitent sinner is condemned to final perdition. If we reject the truth, we seal our own perdition. So if we continue with the Roman study after this, if we can continue with the papal Sunday after Sunday laws are passed, this will apply to all who refuse to obey God in keeping His commandments. Okay, so the woman in 17:7 and 8 and the leopard beast in Revelation 13:2 is the same papal church that ruled for 1260 years. So the beast, this beast and this beast, and the leopard beast is still the woman. I know I'm going a little bit fast, but you're recording it, so you can go back over it. So the beast that thou sawest, so dropping down here, I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast. Well, that gets pretty simple, doesn't it? But we'll just add the was to it. And now dropping down here, the beast which I saw, now he explains what the beast was. The beast was like unto a leopard, and of the feet of a bear, and his mouth the mouth of a lion. So the beast is referring to, in verse 8, is a leopard beast in Revelation 13, which is also the woman beast in verse 17. So he describes the leopard woman, and by giving the time parameters, she ruled in just as he did the wilderness, being 1260 years. For 1260 years, from 538 to 1798. So in 17, the beast that thou sawest was for 1260 years and is not in 1798. And it repeats it down here, and is not means it was wounded to death in 1798. And shall ascend out of the bottomless pit in 1929. Well, the deadly wound only began to heal in 1929, and it's not totally healed at this time. In 1929, the Catholic Church became a nation within a nation, like the United States. Washington, D.C., a district within a nation, an image to the beast. So now John repeats himself. And the beast was for 1260 years, and is not 1798, and yet is 1929. Deadly wound healed in 1929. Okay. The beast was, and it was not totally healed in 1929. It only begun to be healed, because it says he yet is in 1929. So verse 8 systematically takes us from 538 down to 1929, a period of nearly 14 centuries in just one verse. 1929 was only the beginning of the healing of the deadly wound. The deadly wound will not be completely healed until Rome has regained all she has lost in 1798. And the only thing she did not regain in 1929 was the power to rule the world. Mm-hmm. So making a comparison between the resurrection of papal Rome and the resurrection of Jesus Christ. So from the time the papacy started its ministry against God's church in AD 538 until she died in 1798 was 1260 years. There it is right there. So now the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus Christ. From the time Jesus started his ministry at his baptism until his death on the cross, it was 1260 days.
Really?
So 1260 years, 1260 days. This is what we're going to go through from the time of the Sunday law till the death decree. Because Jesus had a death decree at the end of his life. So in Revelation 1:18 it says, I am he that liveth for 1260 days. The beast was for 1260 years, and was dead, is not. I am alive forevermore, yet is. Okay, so continuing on from verse 8, move this up. Yet is brings us down to 1929. Okay, I've done that. Verse 9. Okay, so what are the seven heads? Here's the mind that has wisdom. We already covered this. Mind has wisdom. The seven heads are seven mountains on which the woman sitteth. 1929. So we see that already here in the great controversy. 6th century, the papacy had become firmly established. The seat of power was fixed in the imperial city, and the bishops of Rome was declared to be head over the entire church. Okay, move this down. I'm going to put some more in. Here is the mind which has wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. Now we're going to go down here, over to 13, Revelation 13:18. It says, here is the mind which has wisdom, and it just simply says, here is wisdom. And here, and it says the mind which has doesn't take any value out of this at all. It reads the same. Okay, let them count the number of the beast, of the papal beast, for it is the number of a man, a pope, and his number is 666, 666. So, and this is one of the Pope's tiaras with Vicarius Filii Dei written on it.
You see it?
Okay, so it's a little hard to see there, so we're going to move it up, and it's still hard to see, but you can see it. It's right there. Yeah. Yeah, they got it written up there, and they say it's not on there. Can you see it? Yeah. Okay. There. Oh, there's better. Okay. So anyway, we're going to get back here,
Interesting.
and there's the Pope. Well, you wouldn't want to bow down to you with that thing on his head.
What a
A little knock you over.
Yeah. The lower region, the upper region, and that's the 3 layers of the heavens.
So in Roman numerals,
Yeah.
does each of these have an
Vicarius
when
Filii
you-
Dei.
when you studied Roman numerals in school,
It all adds
the
up to
V is a
666.
5. All of these numbers have the C is 100.
Yeah. Okay.
They add up to.
Let's move on. Okay, so, okay, now here, there are 7 kings. Now in verse 10, there are 7 kings. 5 are fallen, 1 is, and the others not yet come, and when he cometh. Now there's a lot of different interpretation on these 7 kings, but we're going to use something, we're going to use the Strong's Concordance. It says, King and Kings use the number 935. Okay, so he is Lord of Lords, King of Kings. These are all 935. This is referring to Jesus, and King Herod heard of these things in 935, and Hail, King of the Jews. And of course, this is referring to Jesus, 935, and the kings of the earth, still 935, and after certain days, King Agrippa, 935, and now it's talking about Jesus again. So a king, it could be either referring to a pope or a man or a god, or Jesus. So this is how the concordance interprets the word king and kings. A sovereign is a king. It's hard to see there. Sovereign here is a king. A sovereign, above or superior to all others, supreme in power, rank, and authority, or holding the position of ruler, royal, or reigning. So that's a sovereign. So the Greek English lexicon of the New Testament puts it 935, leader of the people, prince, commander, lord of the land, or a king. So, and these 7 kings, the 7 kings are the 7 sovereign leaders of the Roman Catholic Church since its reestablishment in 1929. Let's see here. We're getting close. So this is for the Lateran Treaty was signed in February 11th, 1929. Vatican City was recognized, was recognized as a fully independent state under papal sovereignty. So a sovereign above, superior, all ruling or rank. It's a king ruling his territory is what it is. Okay. So the Pope is again a sovereign ruler as he was throughout the Middle Ages. So a sovereign ruler is a king, or ruling over his kingdom. Here's another article out of, I think it's out of Seattle, or the San Francisco Tribune. Anyway, And it says, and there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen. So, but in verse 10 it says there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and this does not include the remaining 2 kings. There is more to be said about them in the next 2 presentations. Okay, so this is the first guy. These are the 5 popes that are fallen. He is the pope that signed the Lateran Treaty in February 11th in 1929 and died February 10th, 1939, just one day short of 10 years. And this is number 2. No, he's, I'm not going to try and pronounce his name.
I'll do it. Eugenio Maria Giuseppe Giovanni Pacelli.
Okay. So head of the Catholic Church, a sovereign of the Vatican. So a sovereign is a king. So this guy is a king. This is Pope John the 23rd. And this is the Pope's, what would you call the Vatican, Hitler's Pope. This guy was Hitler's Pope.
Giovanni Battista Enrico Antonio Maria Montini.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So he was number 4. Now this is number 5. And this is Pope John Paul I. He ruled about a month. It was suspected that he was poisoned because he was proposing to clean up the Vatican Bank. So
The
now
Vatican Bank.
Huh?
Mhm.
What do you mean the Vatican Bank?
Oh, they're
The richest.
oh, it's terrible. I mean, the way they're not record. Oh, it's something different. And there were 7 kings from 1929 to 1978. 5 are fallen. There's nothing more in prophecy that is said about the 5 that are fallen. One is, this is Pope John Paul. He's the 6th out of the 7. This king and the next king are not included in those that are fallen, meaning there's more to be said about them. And we'll see this guy again in Daniel chapter 11, chapter 8 and 11. And Pope Benedict, the 7th, the last mentioned in Revelation 17. But that doesn't mean there's no more kings after him. God has given us a glimpse of the past 80 years to show us where we are in the stream of time. And the other is not yet come. He came in 2005, and when he cometh, he must continue a short space. So did Benedict continue a short space? Well, we can assume that we can't assume what God means by a short space. Benedict did cut his own time short by retiring early and not dying in the office like the others have done. Okay, so Pope Benedict announced his retirement on these dates, February 9, 10, and 11, are there's a long cover of them. I'll show them I think in Daniel 8. Pope Benedict announced his retirement on February 11, 2013, and on his departure from the Vatican, Barbara Sierra, a news reporter from Al Jazeera News, and Francisco Commenti, a Vatican insider, both referred to Pope Benedict as a king. Okay, so they in Rome, instead of understanding the 7 kings prophecy of Revelation 17, that they even made a staff of the 7 kings commemorating the 7 kings from 1929 to 2013. Just remember, Benedict is the 7th and is still alive as of December 22nd. So he continued a short spot. And this is not the 8th king, and this is a total, I shouldn't even put that in there. So Pope Benedict is the last of the 7 kings. This is as far as Revelation takes us with the 7 kings, with Benedict being the last. We will pick up John Paul II again in Daniel 8, and Daniel will take us a little further from there. So there will never be less than 7, this number being God's symbol of completeness.
Mm-hmm.
There's 7 churches, 7 trumpets, 7 last plagues, and the 7 blesseds. The last one says, "Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates of the city." So keeping God's commandments is a wonderful promise in this. And there are 7 kings. Now we're going to recap the last 10 verses. So here, the beast in verse 8 is also the woman in verse 1 through 6. and also the leopard beast in Revelation 13, 1 through 3. I hear somebody snoring. I put a lot of people to sleep with it. So verse 10 covers the past. Anyway, we'll go on a little bit further. So 538 to 2005. So in verse 7, John says, I will tell thee the mystery of the woman. And that's exactly what he's doing, taking us from AD 538 to 2005 in just 4 verses. I'm going to move this up. Now verse 11. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th. So, now this really gets interesting. Okay, so where have you seen, we'll take verse 10 out. And now where have you seen this verse before? Where have you seen verse 11 before? You just looked at it.
Mhm.
Here in verse 8. Now I'm going to take out the part you didn't see. You see there? See, verse 8 and verse 11 are saying almost the same thing. The beast that thou sawest was 538 and is not 1798, and it shall descend out of the bottomless pit and go into
1929.
perdition.
Mhm.
So verse 11, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and shall go into perdition. So the first part of verse 8 and verse 11 are saying the very same thing. So the beast that thou sawest, the beast that was, from 538 to 1798.
Mhm.
So now if you look at, now a lot of people take the kings in verse 10 and apply them to verse 11, and that's totally wrong. But you can see right here what God is trying to show us. And WS means the World Sunday Law. And the beast that was 538 to 7 and is not 1798, even he is the 8th at the World Sunday Law, and is of 7 that goeth into perdition. And the beast that thou sawest shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, and even he is the 8th. So, okay, so, and then in Revelation 11:7, that ascends out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them and overcome them and kill them. That's in the French Revolution during 1793. Okay, now it's getting kind of humdrum here, but I'll keep going until I get to the end. So God's faithful, this comes out of Great Controversy, page 286. God's faithful witness is slain by this blasphemous power that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit after 3 days and a half. Here we're explaining what the 3 days and a half is, 3 years and a half. So the French Revolution lasted for 3 years and a half.
Really?
And that's exactly what's going to happen to us. 3 years and a half. Okay, now this is out of Last Day Events, page 95, verse 4. Let all who understand the meaning of these things read the 11th chapter of Revelation. Read every verse and learn the things that are going to take place in the cities. Now this is referring to the 11th chapter of Revelation. Read it clearly. If you're in the cities, you better get out. So now we're going to compare verse 8 with verse 11. So the beast that thou sawest was 538 to 1798, and we're seeing the same thing here in verse 11. And now we're going to, it's at the time that Rome finally regained everything she lost in 1798, and that was the power to rule the world. That's what's happening. That's what's just about to happen at the World Sunday Law. Okay, so comparing verse 8 and 11 with Revelation 13:3. Okay, so this is a chiasm. Well, is not, 1798, same thing here and here, is not. Wounded to death, 1798, same thing. Now, his deadly wound was healed at the World Sunday Law, and even he is the 8th, the World Sunday Law. So the resurrection of the second papacy and the 8th beast. So when the world wanders after the 8th beast, is when the world accepts the Pope of Rome as the one world leader, and we'll see more of that in just a minute if I haven't deleted it. So Sunday, a doctrine of the Catholic Church, was officially placed at the beginning of her first ruling, 538 to 1798. For 1260 years, it will be set up at the beginning of her future 1235-day rule. This is including the 1260 days plus the 45 days of the last plagues. So here it says, and I've got this in my hand out of the Catholic Encyclopedia. It says, at the beginning of the 6th century, Saint Caesarius, as we have seen, and others shown an inclination to apply the law of the Jewish Sabbath, there's no such thing as a Jewish Sabbath, to the observance of the Christian Sunday, which there's no such thing as a Christian Sunday. The council held at Orleans in 538 reprobated this tendency as Jewish and non-Christian. This is out of the 1912-14 edition of the Catholic Encyclopedia. So history repeats itself. It was the Catholic Church that placed Sunday as their Sabbath at the beginning of her 1260-year rule from 538 AD, and will set it up as a world Sunday law at the beginning of her final 3.5-year rule. There's no such thing in the Bible as a Jewish Sabbath or a Christian Sunday. It's always the Sabbath of the Lord. And we see that here in Isaiah 58:13. If thou turn thy foot from the Sabbath, doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord, honorable, and shall honor him, not doing thine own ways, or finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words. Okay? In Daniel 7:25 it says, and he shall speak great words against, this is referring to the little horn, or the papacy. He shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High. That's the Christian martyrs throughout the papal Dark Ages. And think to change times and laws. That's when like we see right here in 538, they applied the law of the Sabbath to the observance of Sunday. And they ruled for a time and dividing of time. Okay, that's 1260 years. Now notice here in Daniel 11:31, an arm shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that makes desolate. Now, in AD 538 is when they placed Sunday, the abomination of desolation. We'll see more of that in Daniel 11 and 12. Whoops. So, now this is out of first 14 manuscript. An idol Sabbath has been set up here as the golden image was set up in the plains of Dura, and as Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, issued a decree. So it's going to be the Pope of Rome that's going to issue the decree that we need to keep Sunday, that all who would not bow down and worship this image should be killed. So a proclamation will be made that all who will not reverence the Sunday institution will be punished with imprisonment and death. So this is what's going to bring it on. This is what's going to bring on the Sunday law. I'm just going to read this part. You can read it out of Great Controversy, page 589 and 590. I'll read it. In accidents and calamities by sea, land, in great conflagration, that means great fires you can't control, and we see that in California, in Oregon, and Hawaii, and everywhere. Mm-hmm. In fierce tornadoes, terrific hailstorms, in tempests, floods, cyclones, tidal waves, earthquakes, in every place in 1,000 forms, Satan is exercising his power. These visitations are to become more and more frequent and disastrous. Destruction will be upon both man and beast. The class that have provoked the displeasure of heaven will charge all their troubles upon those whose obedience to God's commandments is a perpetual reproof to the transgressors. Mm-hmm. It will be declared that men are offending God by the violation of the Sunday Sabbath, that this sin has brought calamities which will not cease until Sunday observance shall be strictly enforced, and that those who present the claims of the fourth commandment, thus destroying the reverence for Sunday, are troublers of the people, preventing their restoration to divine favor and temporal prosperity. Oops. Okay, interpreting verse 11, it says, Second papacy is now ruling the world in verse 11. That's the beginning of the world Sunday law. The Church of Rome will be resurrected from the seventh world ruling power to the eighth world ruling beast at the enforcement of the Sunday law. But in order to have an eighth beast, there has to be a seventh, sixth, fifth, and so on. And so here we are right here. So the eighth beast in verse 11 takes us back to Daniel chapter 7, where there are 7 beasts. So this is out of 4 Bible commentaries, 821. The 3 ribs in the bear's mouth are Babylon, Lydia, Egypt, and the 3 main entities conquered by the Medo-Persian Empire. This is out of God's Care by Mervyn Maxwell on page 109. So here's the first 3 of the 7 beasts. This one, the 4th, is the bear, which had the 3 ribs in its mouth, and those 3 ribs represent these 3 countries right here: Egypt, Babylon, and Lydia. And then the 5th is Greece. 6th is you see in Daniel 7:7 and Revelation 13:3, the 7-head, 10-horned beast is pagan Rome, and the 7, Revelation 17:8, papal Rome, the beast that was 538 is not 1798, and yet is in 1929. So in Revelation 17:8, the papal church that was and is not, even he is the 8th. So the 7th beast ruled for 1260 years, beginning his rule in 538, then died 1260 years later in 1798. After that, he ascended out of the bottomless pit and became yet is in 1929. During the life and the reign of the 7th king, will convince the world that we need to keep a common work day, Sunday, the first day of the week, as the Sabbath of the Lord. So now verse 12, we're coming to the end. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings. So who are these 10 kings and where do they come from? So when you come over here, Daniel 7:24, now look again as you see these written almost the same thing. So when I first came into the church in 1982, someone gave me a cassette tape with a sermon by the Bible teacher at Andrews University, and he had his students read the book of Daniel and Revelation once a week, every week, as long as he was in there, they were in his class. And these are some of the things I started seeing in 1714. It says, and he shall subdue 3 kings, and more on that when we get there. Okay, so we see these 2 here. And when the 10 horns came out from under the rule of the first papal kingdom from 538 to 1798, became kings in 1712. So these kings, they went from horns to kings after 1798. Yeah, it says, just in my notes here, it says, just remember the horns with crowns are before 1798. The horns become kings is after 1798. The kings reverting back to the horns is during the World Sunday Law, when they give their kingdoms unto the beast as it was during the Dark Ages. Okay, so verses 13 and 14. So this is the beast and this is a lamb. So as we read, you can read this right across there, come down here and get the answer. And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth, and these have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophets that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had the mark of the beast. Okay, so, okay, now we're going to go to verse 15. Now, okay, people, multitude, nations, and tongues represents many nations being world. Okay, so verse 11 through 18, this is verse 15, papal Rome is ruling the world the second time. Okay, in Revelation 17:1, verse 1 through 6, papal Rome is ruling the world the first time. So here's our chiasm. The horn that sitteth, the waters, And then dropping down, we see the waters and the whore that sitteth. So the papacy is ruling the world the first and second time here. That's where you get the beast in verse 8. In verse 11, it says, the beast, there are 7 beasts, 5 are fallen. No, beasts, there are 7 kings. Well, never mind. I'll go get something later. So a sitting president is a ruling president, and a sitting judge is a ruling judge, and sitting whore is a ruling whore, ruling over people, multitude, nations, and tongues. From Rome, Italy. Okay. So here's the chiasm from verses 7, 8, and 8 and 11. Okay, we see the woman and the beast that was and is not, 1798. The beast that was in 1798, and even he is the 8th at the World Sunday Law. So we see the woman again, the woman ruling the world first and second time. Verse 16. Now in 1712 and 16, the 10 kings have become horns again and are under the rule of the second papacy during the World Sunday Law. So the 10 horns that become kings he saw in Daniel 7:20 and 24. So these verses are all separated by 4s and 8s. Here's from 20 to 24 is 4, from 20 to 12 is 8, 16 to 24 is 8. Okay, so there's our chiasm, and that's it's Daniel is saying the same thing as Revelation is. And that's why reading and this is what I did. I just started reading Daniel, Revelation, and all of a sudden these things, I started seeing them. So now verse 17, I really like this picture. That's Francis standing behind the United Nations. For God has given in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the word of God shall be fulfilled. So this is God's disclaimer for those who present this prophecy. And I really like that picture. So this is out of the Review and Herald, Review and Herald, June 12th, 1900, paragraph 10. Men of all character, righteous and unrighteous, will stand in their several positions in God's plan. With the character they have formed, they will act their part in the fulfillment of history. In a crisis just at the right moment, they will stand in the place they have prepared themselves to fill. Believers and unbelievers will fall into line as witnesses to confirm the truth that they themselves do not comprehend. All will cooperate in accomplishing the purposes of God, just as did Annas, Caiaphas, Pilate, and Herod in putting Christ to death. The priests thought they were carrying out their own purpose, but unconsciously and unintentionally they were fulfilling the purpose of God. Amazing. I love that verse. So here's a summary. Comparing the 7th beast with the 8th beast. In verse 1 through 6, the 7th beast, the first papacy, ruling the world from AD 538 to 1798. And the second, in verse 7 through 8, takes us from AD 538 to 1929, giving verse 9 gives a location where the woman sits. In 1929, verse 10 gives us the line of popes near the national and the world Sunday laws. Rome is not ruling the world at this time. And in 11 through 18, in verse 11, the 8th beast, the second papacy, is now ruling the world from the world Sunday law to the second coming of Christ. Okay, now this is out of the Great Controversy again, 580. Let it be remembered that it is the boast of Rome that she never changes. The principle of Gregory the 6th, 7th, and Innocent III are still the principles of the Romish Church, and had she but power, she would put them in practice with as much vigor now as in the past. Let the principles once be established in the United States that the Church may employ or control the power of the state, that religious observance may be enforced by the secular laws. In short, that the authority of the Church and state is to dominate the conscience, and the triumph of Rome of this country will be assured. So, in verse 18, the last verse, And the woman which thou sawest is a great city which reigns over the kings of the earth. That's Vatican City. Revelation 18:16, and says, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. Verse 17, and in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught. In verse 19, and they cast their dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing and saying, Alas, that great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, and in 1 hour she is made desolate. In verse 21, and a mighty angel took a stone, like a great millstone, and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. In verse 24, and in her was found the blood of prophets and saints, and of all that were slain upon the earth. That's quite a statement. The verse, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues. That's my email. If you got any questions, that's my email. Just send them to me. Okay, that's my conclusion.
Wait, can you say it out loud for the recording? Your email?
Yeah, it's Roger68, at number 68, and PF stands for pipe fitter. That was my profession for years, at gmail.com.
And repeat it without the exclamation.
Roger68pf@gmail.com.
Yeah. Yep, that's the end of it. Thank you
Great.
for watching.
Oh, now question time. Any questions?
Well, I answer all the questions in my presentation, but if you got some question about this, because you're probably not going to see it all anyway on this one. So,